Hi, Gladys.
Hello, Alt Swift X.
There's a new Game of Thrones show.
Oh my god.
It's begun.
It's happened.
The new show is called The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. It's adapting a series of novellas written by George R.R. Martin.
Back in the 90s.
And it takes too long to say A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, so we're saying Dunk and Egg.
Dunk and Egg.
Dunk and Egg.
The two mainest of the characters.
Dunk is the tall man, and Egg is the small boy.
He's a little boy. What a pair. What a match.
You see that thing about like how every comedy duo needs like a man shaped like a banana and a man shaped like a aubergine?
No, I haven't seen that, no.
Well, that's like Bert and Ernie.
Yeah. Abbott and Costello.
It's like Aykroyd and Belushi.
Jim Belushi.
Yes. The point is, so this is a glorious story about Dunk and Egg, and it's begun on HBO.net.
Is that the proper URL?
I think that's the proper URL.
Okay.
This show is set 90 years before Game of Thrones.
Whoa.
And about 70 years after House of the Dragon. So in this time, the Targaryens are in charge of Westeros, but there are no dragons. And now me, Ultrift X, and you, Glidus,
that's me,
are going to talk about this show each week exclusively on the internet.
Whoa.
We are not going to spoil anything until the spoiler zone.
We'll tell you when it's about to be spoiler time.
We will be no spoilers until towards the end of this chat, where we will have a spoiler zone. So don't you worry.
Wow, you said it, Alt Swift X, but before we don't shut up for an hour and a half, did you know there's a version of this video where we don't shut up for 3 whole hours? And it came out as soon as the episode aired? In the full cut, we expand more on our points and go on even more silly and insightful tangents, and you can watch all this on the creator-owned streaming site, Nebula. The full versions of Dunk Time are just the latest addition to the Nebula exclusive catalogue Swift and I have built. Between our House of the Dragon series, Dragon Time, and the unfathomable epic, The Fake Jon Snow, there's over 60 hours of video that you can watch only on Nebula. Again, Dunk Time is twice as long and like 4 days earlier on Nebula. Nebula is also home to many other awesome creators doing things they simply couldn't do on YouTube. If you want to watch the full video right now, use nebula.tv/Glidus and you'll get 50% off a yearly subscription. That's only $30 for the whole year, or $2.50 a month, the price of a single egg. Click the link in the description to sign up. Thank you for watching, and thank you Nebula for supporting us. Alright, let's get to it!
What did you think of episode 1?
I had a wonderful time watching this. What fun. What a fun start to the show.
It was fun. It's interesting because like we know this book quite well. This book came out late 90s. This is like a almost 20-year-old book. That is an almost 30-year-old book.
It's the 2020s, mate.
He's the math guy. I haven't looked at a clock in a while, so I don't know what year it is.
Well, if you look at the clock, you'll see that it's Dunk o'clock.
It's Dunk o'clock
on the egg timer.
It's Dunk time. We're expecting a fairly faithful adaptation of the book.
That's what Ira Parker, the showrunner, has been saying.
A faithful adaptation. However, there is a lot of material in this episode that was not in the book.
Yeah, it's made up from whole cloth.
Their goal, I think, is to expand on what's in the book because it's a very short book.
Yes. But there was a lot of talk about how they were going to adapt this into an entire series of television.
You really could adapt this book into a movie. I reckon you could tell this whole story in one movie.
In like 90 to 120 minutes.
And they have decided to tell this story as a 6-episode series with 30-minute long episodes. So
this episode's 40 minutes, so I don't know what's going on there.
It's going to be really interesting seeing what they include, what they add, what they change, and how that affects the story.
I do want to clarify that, like, by faithful doesn't mean, like, one-to-one. It doesn't mean a complete recreation. Faithful means adhering to the same ideas. It means keeping in faith, not only adapting what's literally on the page.
So the question is, like, what are the important messages and ideas that George is trying to explore? And I think what the story is about is it asks, what does it mean to be a hero? And what does it mean to be a knight in this world? And so knighthood is defined by ideas like chivalry and heroism and honor and doing the right thing and trying to keep to these principles even in the face of a morally complicated world.
But knighthood is also wrapped up in social ideas about class and hierarchy.
And for Dunk specifically, I think it comes down a lot to humility and simplicity and being kind of a bit thick, honestly. I think some of Dunk's heroism comes from being a bit thick.
I think all of George's heroes come down to being a bit thick.
Yeah. The opening of this brand new Game of Thrones show is horses.
It's horses! They hit us right in the face with 3 horses. What a great opening shot.
I would like it if Thunder maybe looked more big and imposing, and if like Chestnut looked scragglier and older and less healthy, but of course I suppose you only have fancy looking horses when you're casting horses for Hollywood.
You know how it is in Hollywood. Like Tyrion Lannister is going to be played by a very handsome man. Emilia Clarke's not going to be bold in season 2 of Game of Thrones, and the horses are going to be the sexy Hollywood horses, not the horses you find under the bridge.
Yeah, every character is glammed up. Every character is yassified, and that includes the horses. So Dunk served as a squire to this knight called Arlen, and now Arlen has died. And in the book, they explain that he caught a chill in the rain in the spring.
It was a skill issue.
It was a skill. It was an antibody skill issue. And so now Arlen has died and Dunk is burying him. And it's an irony that like it's springtime. It's a time of hope and growth. But Arlen has died at this time of growth and life, and it's raining and dreary on this spring day.
But then, like, throughout this scene, there's so much color as well. There's such great contrast at the beginning of this show, and I think that the reason for that is how much contrast we're going to see throughout the show, not in terms of, like, visual contrast, but social contrast.
We see the fancy lords at the top of the hierarchy. We see the peasants at the bottom of the hierarchy. We see hope and joy and heroism and villainy and lightheartedness and darkness and everything in between. I like the tree that they've got
tree.
here.
How did they find that tree? Did they make this tree or did they find it?
I feel like that might be a fake tree on the hill.
It's it looks too perfect.
Yeah, it's got so much personality, that tree. It's got so much motion in it. I think it might be a fake tree. It's like the tree in the Winterfell Godswood that we see in Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 1. And it's like the weirwood that we see in King's Landing in House of the Dragon Season 1. Look how much Thunder is headbanging.
Oh, yeah, he is rocking out to, like, Anthrax or Sabbath.
Isn't there a moment in Game of Thrones where a horse has like a massive erection in the background of a scene?
There are a few, actually, yeah.
Like they're trying to hang the Brotherhood without banners, and like half the screen is this slightly out of focus horse phallus.
Yeah, and Nikolai Costavaldo on the commentary, God bless his soul, says to the director, "So did you get the horse cock in frame for a reason?"
Amazing. Yeah, well, hopefully there won't be any horse phallus-related mishaps in this show.
Hopefully they're intentional.
Well, that's the thing. Like, this show surprised me. This opening scene is so important, setting the tone for the series. And it's about the death of Arlen. It's a somber moment. But they break up this somber burial scene with these sharp flashback cuts.
To, like, slapstick.
These, like, slapstick moments of young Dunk being hit by Arlen in this like intense slapstick comedic moments. And they also then show Dunk having diarrhea.
Yeah, he has a little shit.
They show Dunk shitting behind the tree, like right at the moment to sort of like undercut the somber moment.
Well, yeah.
What a bold choice.
It is quite bold.
What a bold choice to have the hero of your new HBO Game of Thrones show
take a sloppy shit next to his old master's corpse.
Amazing.
At the start of the show. That's wild. And I think it's a great decision, actually, because anyone watching this is going to be like, oh, okay, this is what the show is going to be. It's going to be serious and it's going to be very silly.
It's going to turn some people off.
I reckon it will be a bit polarizing.
Well, I mean, it sounds bad if I say I was on board for the child being hit in the face. But like,
we're George R. R. Martin fans here.
But like when
We've
Dunk,
been on board for much worse than that.
If you're in for the child defenestration, you're in for the lot. Yeah, I thought it worked when young Dunk was being hit, but like, having Peter Claffey have diarrhea in the first 30 seconds of the new show, I was like, oh, is this too much? Do I want to see this? Ooh.
Well, we're talking about it, so it worked.
The point of it. And I mean, don't make fun of me for doing thematic analysis of literal shit.
A man shitting himself.
But like, part of the point of this story is deconstructing the ideals and the romanticism of knighthood and showing that heroism isn't all glory and shiny armor. Sometimes it's mud and blood and poops. Sometimes there's poopies.
There's a lot of poopies, actually. Everyone does it, even the most glorious knights. It is a very silly, shocking thing to put at the start of the show, but it's also utilized in a way that I think is quite effective. Because Dunk, like, when he's shitting himself, he looks up at a bird in the tree. And later on in the episode, he identifies that bird in the tree as being the moment that Arlen knighted him. So already the viewer is associating a man violently shitting himself with the concept of knighthood, right? It's already drawing into question the validity of these concepts. It's subtle and effective, and I actually love it.
It's a really interesting challenge for the adaptation to try and show us Dunk's thought process. In the book, we see Dunk's thoughts, but in the TV show, they have to verbalize that somehow. And so we have Dunk talking to his horses a lot.
Yeah, that's a great decision. I think it makes sense.
I think it makes sense too. And yeah, it's really interesting how they handle all of those like internal thoughts and how they make it visible and how much they make visible to us as the viewers. Because in the book, it's never explicit, but it's implied that Dunk was never knighted by Arlen. He lies and he claims to have been knighted by Arlen. And it's this great paradox to Dunk's character that Dunk is usually super honest, super straightforward. He's like the one like honest guy in a world of liars and crooks and thieves. But paradoxically, he told this one great lie, which is claiming to have been knighted by Arlen. And the TV show, I think, is making it a bit more explicit. But,
yes, and that makes sense. Like, it's really hard to walk that line. It's the same thing with, like, Rhaenyra's children in House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
There's a lot more plausible deniability in the book, whereas in the show, it's very straightforward and clear explicitly that they are bastards.
I think that they're threading that needle pretty well.
Yes. This is a wonderful scene. The shock of a man violently shitting himself. Like, I can't forget that, but like it's one of George's most evocative scenes.
I like how they mentioned the word septon right near the start to sort of remind us that this is Westeros. This is the world that has all of this world building and history and imaginary nonsense such as the Faith of the Seven and the Septons and such.
I got the same feeling later on when Dunk says to the horses, "Do you want to go to King's Landing, Lannisport? I could join the City Watch." And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're in this world." Because up until that point, I've been like, "Oh, this could be anywhere," but no, we're in Westeros.
I'm sure one of the questions a lot of people have right now is, where in Westeros are we? Like, I think Lionel mentions that we're in the Reach.
Yes.
But I mean, even in the book, I feel like the geography is vague and not very important.
Yeah, it really isn't important. It's important when you're dealing with, when your points of views are the lords and kings and like the people in the high echelons of Westerosi society. But when you're a hedge knight, when you're a man on the road, sleeping at trees, picking up food where you can, and just like trying to take care of your horses and shit, it's a lot less important.
The scale's different. The perspective is different.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you're playing the Game of Thrones, you orient yourself by the castle over there, the city over there, the army over there.
Yeah.
But down here on the level of Dunk, we care about the hill over there, the tree over there.
Where can I get some clean water? Where can I get oats for my horses?
Yeah, it's a wonderful like change of scale.
It's a different view of Westeros. It's a ground level view as opposed to the bird's eye that we've been seeing.
So like the stakes of this show aren't going to be saving the world, but it should just be as powerful. And it's a delight to see the same world from a different perspective and a different scale.
I really love that the first words Dunk says is, "I don't know the right words."
Yeah. Yeah,
that is emblematic of his place in society, of the way he's going to interact with all the people throughout this show. He does not know the right words.
And that's another great like challenge for the writers here, which is that they have to take the internal thoughts of this character and make them visible and external for us to see. But he's an inarticulate character who doesn't have great words. He's not good with words. And it's like, how do we find out what's happening in his head when half the time he has no one else to talk to?
The other half, he has no idea what to say.
Yeah, and the showrunner Ira Parker was saying that we are religiously from Dunk's point of view in this show.
This feels like I am with Dunk. Yeah. I am following this guy. I am experiencing the world from his eyes.
And I think part of that is the way that it's shot, right? Like in some of those Game of Thrones scenes where there's multiple important characters whose point of view all matters equally. the camera work reflects that. And you might have shots that like, preference each character equally, show from multiple characters' points of view.
Especially towards the end when all those characters start muddying up each other's plots.
Yeah, I mean, in the later seasons of Game of Thrones, you would have scenes where there's literally like
Is this a Sansa scene?
Characters.
Is this a Daenerys scene? Is this a Jon scene? Who fucking knows?
Yeah, and I think that was one of the weaknesses of the later seasons of Game of Thrones. Was that you lost a sense of perspective. You lost a sense of like emotional perspective in some of those scenes.
And it just became
the
plot.
scenes were the scenes were exactly. The scenes were no longer about a character's perspective and a character's experience and emotions. I think that they are succeeding in this first episode of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms at giving us a perspective, giving us an emotion and a motive that makes sense to us. Dunk is just trying to get by, and he's trying to muddle his way through life. He's trying to go from a no one to maybe a someone.
I love his aspirations in the book. He's like, oh, if I do really well, maybe I can sleep under a roof for a while.
And so Dunk says, you never beat me when I didn't deserve it. And then we get, I was so surprised by this.
A montage of child beating.
It's a
what a delight.
Right? It's so unexpected to me. This super quick, sharp montage. And if you actually slow down and look at these shots, I like how every one of them tells a story.
Yeah.
Every one of them is really distinct, and you wouldn't know it unless you pause. But in one of them, there's like a crowd of people standing around, and it makes me wonder if maybe young Dunk has said something rude or inappropriate, or, maybe it's something he said is why he's been hit. And then in the next shot,
he's covered in mud.
Yeah, I think Dunk has done some mischief in the mud, and I think that Arlen is angry that Dunk has like hit this person, or is just angry that Dunk is now covered in mud.
Right, yeah, because this is Dunk telling us about the times when he did deserve to be beaten by Harlan.
One of the other things we see in this episode is Dunk trying to not stink. When your squire gets themselves covered in mud,
that's a big problem.
It's a problem.
That's going to be a problem for some time.
Yeah.
I would be upset as well.
And so Dunk gets hit for that. And then in the third one, that's Peter Claffey in the third one.
Yes, it's an older, younger Dunk.
So isn't that fun that it's actually a time lapse?
Yeah.
And there's a big fire.
There's a big fire in the background. I'm glad you noticed that. The implication here is that Dunk believes Arlen was right to beat him here, and there's a large fire behind them. So I think Dunk has, on some level, been involved in arson.
That's fantastic. I love it.
Then there's a fourth story where Dunk says, okay, this time I didn't deserve to be beaten. It wasn't my fault. And we see a kid running away just as Arlen's about to beat Dunk, having eaten the pie that Dunk has taken the blame for eating.
So we even see in the flashback that Dunk was, in fact, innocent of the pie burglary. These are the stakes that we're on in this show, folks. Pie burglary. And I think it very effectively gives you that sense of, oh yeah, Arlen and Dunk, they were together for a long time, and it was a good relationship despite all the child beating.
Yeah.
And they got along, and so it gives us a reason to feel sad about this burial. And I really like this line, which wasn't in the book. I'd leave your sword, but it would only rust in the ground. So, I mean, right away, that's a hint that, Dunk at this point is not intending to be a knight. But it gives him like a really specific reason to hang on to the sword.
To me, that sounded like he was sort of justifying it to himself, like giving himself a reason to keep the sword and maybe ideating I should pretend to be a knight.
Yeah, it gives you these little breadcrumbs and these little moments of insight into what Dunk is thinking.
I really like that the sword has a penny in it. That's a new detail, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not in the book.
That's
I like
cute.
it. In Penny Tree in the books, they nail pennies to a tree, literally. There's this old tree that has hundreds of pennies nailed to it for reasons that have never been explained.
We cut to the morning when it's like lovely and beautiful outside.
It becomes sunny after the rain, the life after the dark, after the death. Dunk continues to think about what his economic prospects are, which are not good.
I could sell the horses and eat for a little while, and then I would have to rob people if I wanted to continue, so maybe let's not do that.
Mentions King's Landing and Lannisport.
Gives a go at being a city watchman. He's like, stop raping, sir. That's oh my god. The start of this show is crazy.
And then when he glances at this sword, and it's like, you really do get the sense that, he is a bit thick, and it's only by looking at the sword that it occurs to him that, I could use the sword to gain employment.
Sword, good for hit.
But again, like, it's so visual. Like, it's all got to be visual storytelling. And I think
we can't just have Peter Claffey say out loud, I will use this sword for employment.
So just at this moment, like, this is the moment when Dunk is thinking, oh yeah, I should be a knight.
Yes,
eh?
I'm going to become a tourney knight. I will be a valiant, glorious victor at the nearby tournament.
And it comes from his physicality. Like it's when he's holding the sword and he's saying that this sword suits me as much as it did him.
Yeah.
Like it's that makes him decide to be a knight, because that's Dunk's only advantage in life, is that he's big.
And then we cut to Dunk shitting himself.
So just at this moment, this heroic uplifting moment, is when we hard cut to Dunk.
The harsh realities of real life.
Yeah. It's pretty gross. We went from the heroism to the diarrhea, which is a George Martin thing. Dunk shitting here is about complicating the image of knighthood. It's not all nobility, it's not all heroism, it's not all romantic. It is in fact dirty and grubby and hard. And so the show is exploring that in a lot of different ways.
And I totally understand if you, dear viewer, did not enjoy it. But I value what it's getting across here.
It's almost something that they'd choose to include to get attention. You know, like as soon as they want to get
Game of Thrones show has man shitting himself in opening minutes.
Yeah, it sounds a bit calculated for the show to get attention. Like, whoa, the new Game of Thrones show has poopies right at the start. Ew. It feels
the old Game of Thrones show had boobies at the start.
Yeah. This is Arlen of Pennytree.
I was so excited to see this.
It looks great, doesn't
The winged chalice. It's fantastic.
And Dunk put flowers on Arlen's grave.
That's really lovely.
Nice? So, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms doesn't have a big bombastic title theme. It doesn't have a opening sequence that zooms around over a map.
I was skeptical of that at first, like when I heard about it, but having watched it now, it makes total sense.
Considering how short the episodes are, you wouldn't want some long intro
of zooming around a map. A map? What would we need a map for? This entire show is going to take place in one place.
Yeah. I like the font of the title here, which is it's got a lot more of like a handwritten feel to other fonts that we see in Game of Thrones.
But it's still connected to the Game of Thrones font.
It's recognizably Game of Thrones, but it's a lot more personal, individual, hands-on.
The same is exactly true of the music in this show.
Yeah, can we talk about the music?
Yeah.
It felt,
I've got time.
It was very much like folk instruments. I feel like I could see the hands. I could hear the hands on the drums.
Yeah.
I could hear the fingers on the strings. Like it felt in no way artificial. It felt in no way electronic. It felt like there were people in a village playing these instruments with their hands.
Like almost as though if the camera tilted a little to the left, the performers would be there.
Yeah.
And then we meet Egg.
It's Egg. Dunk and Egg is all about Dunk and Egg.
It's all about, you take a dunk, you put an egg with the dunk, you got Dunk and Egg.
You got
That's
a
it.
Dunk and Egg.
All you need.
I've heard people here that, like, when people say Dunk and Egg, some people thought that was...
The one man's name was Duncan Egg.
Yeah. But not to be confused, our main character's a Dunk and Egg.
Yeah, that's a different character.
Dunk asks the boy to look after the horses. And Egg's like, yeah, I could look after the horses.
If I wanted to.
He looks so sad.
I love Dexter Solansel's delivery. Like, every line he says in this episode, I'm a fan of. He's fantastic. Incredible stuff for, like, how old was he when they filmed this? 10?
8 or 9, I think.
Bloody hell, that's incredible. Have you ever talked to a 9-year-old? They're useless. He's incredible.
And Dunk threatens to clout Egg in the ear, which, you just see... Dunk passing on the lessons that Arlen taught. The generational child beating, which, I guess maybe we shouldn't make too much fun of. But you see how Dunk is replicating the lessons that Arlen taught. And, some of those lessons are good, like the honor and chivalry.
Most of them sound good. Let's hope we don't see Dunk ever actually beat Egg.
The bald head presents an interesting lighting challenge, I think, because it really stands out on the big spherical dome.
Egg is such a wonderful character design because a bald child is already just intriguing on its own, right?
Yeah, why would a child be bald in this medieval setting?
And then he seems to be able to navigate the world in ways that Dunk is completely shocked by. Like later on, he's like, oh, I caught a fish and I'm cooking it. I would have put your pavilion up, but you don't have one. And like Dunk has no idea how to navigate the world at all. So it's just a wonderful pairing. Oh, I could talk about it forever.
Yeah.
I love these characters so much. And it's so good to see them on screen.
Dunk comes into the inn and sees this drunken man at the table.
Man.
And Dunk decides to have 2 dinners for dinner. Mood.
Because he's a big lad.
I love that the innkeeper drinks from the wine before serving the wine to Dunk.
It's so real.
I think that's one of the goals of this show is to humanize the random side characters and the peasants. One of the problems with late Game of Thrones was there isn't any time for any of this.
There's no time for that. There's no time for any of this.
The final seasons felt so rushed because the showrunners just wanted to finish it and everything felt rushed and half-baked. This show feels different because this show is adapting a short novella into a whole season of TV.
It takes its wonderful time. It's so breathy. What a nice, slow start to this show. We're 6 minutes in and nothing's happened yet. We can take time to introduce people and get to know the way our characters interact with one another. Thank God.
The innkeeper says that I don't know why people want to see the tournament. Knights are built just the same as other men, and a joust doesn't change the price of eggs.
Yeah, literally, what's that got to do with the price of fish and chips?
What does it really mean for people on the ground?
Yeah.
And what is it that makes a knight different from other men, if anything?
It's a Jorah Mormont line, right? That the small folk pray for a good harvest. And they don't give a shit who's sitting on the throne. It's the same idea.
The drunk man says, I dreamed of you.
It's quite a rude interruption. Didn't the innkeep just ask Dunk a question? Yeah, she's asking him, are you going to the tourney? And that's an awkward question because she just shit-mouthed every knight alive.
Yeah. It's a really fun, awkward situation because the pub is empty. Dunk has walked into this empty pub.
Yeah, with just a guy passed out in some wine and he's making chit-chat with an innkeep.
And he's just met this weird bald boy and assumed he's the sable boy.
Uncanny evening for Dunk.
What is this? Is this a kitchen knife that the drunkard is wielding? Or is that a fancy knife? It's got a light-colored hilt. Maybe we'll learn more about this character later, and maybe we'll discuss this character in our spoiler zone.
Perhaps. He does put down a Targaryen coin, but most coins have the Targaryen sigil on, don't they? Please do zoom in on the legs. Thank God! We've got 2 legs, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else.
Glidus recently made a video about how many legs dragons have
specifically
Game of Thrones.
Ice and Fire.
Because in the Game of Thrones books, dragons have 2 legs and 2 wings in the books, but in the TV show, sometimes the Targaryen heraldry depicts a dragon as having 4 legs, which is incorrect.
Wrong. So we're hoping for a 100% accuracy rating in this show. Game of Thrones was all over the place. House of the Dragon, I think, is even worse for sigil leg count. But A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is so far 100% across the trailers in this first episode.
I'm also judging this on whether characters have cool helmets and whether they have colorful armor. Because those were some other complaints about Game of Thrones, was not enough colorful armor and cool helmets, which the books are chock full.
When Dunk gets to Ashford, and all of these men are standing around wearing the Ashford sigil on their cloaks, I gasped. I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
All of this color and the men in service to this house looking like they're in service to the house.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And the Dondarrion banner and the Baratheon tent.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, we'll get there, but that's what I wanted Mance Raider's tent to look like. In the book, it makes a really big point of how, Mance has a family and friends, and he's partying.
He's a
and
fun
it's warm.
guy.
And
people like him.
Yes.
When you watch Mance Raider in Game of Thrones, you just don't get the sense that this guy brought together a shitload of disparate tribes by being charismatic, likable, a fun guy people want to lead them.
And in comparison, the introduction of Lionel Baratheon in the show, he has this big cool tent like Mance has in the book, and he has all these pals, background characters who look as though they actually are his friends and acquaintances and exist alongside him, and he has his charisma and he's having fun, and that's everything that was missing from Mance's introduction in the Game of Thrones show. I love how bewildered Dunk is in this scene. This weird drunk lord has just pointed a knife at him and said, "Stay away from me." And
don't you come near my house. You get away from my car.
I'm
not sure what to do here.
How should I handle that? And there's a special layer
Dunk doesn't know how to handle anything, let alone this.
Part of his fear with this drunk guy is that, this lordling, this like rich looking person, this noble, high ranking rich person is inherently a threat to Dunk, because anyone who's that rich and fancy has enough social status that they could probably just have Dunk killed if they wanted to, or they just might not respect you as a person, or they could really mess with your life. Encountering a high status person. So that's part of Dunk's fear here. And you can see Dunk trying to be brave. He sort of like grits his teeth and he sort of frowns, and you can see Dunk
point that knife at me.
Dunk leaves the pub, goes to the stable next to the pub, and finds the bald boy, Egg, on his horse, Thunder.
Oh my god, how scandalous. You get off that horse, young lad.
It's like if you park your fancy convertible outside the pub, and then you find some punk kid playing in your car, pretending to drive it. He's going to scratch the interior. And I like seeing just this playful side to Egg and this...
Where'd he get that helmet? Where'd he get that armor?
It just
Where did you get that, you silly lad?
It's just adorable. And, Egg states the obvious, which is that Dunk doesn't look like a knight. What's the difference between looking like a knight, looking like a hero, and being a true knight, being a true hero?
Well, what's the difference between actually having been given an oath, having taken the sacred oath, or just saying that you did and acting like you did?
It's so much about appearances and reality.
And Egg asks Dunk to take him with him. He wants to squire for Dunk, because every knight needs a squire.
And I think it's really beautiful how Dunk says that, oh yeah, I was adopted by Arlen and he taught me as best he could. And then Egg says, well, you can adopt me, and then you can teach me as best as you can. And the way that Egg uses that line of as best you can, I think is really charming.
Yeah.
But in this moment, Dunk says, no, you don't want to be my squire.
Yeah, you don't want to associate with what's going on here.
Yeah, it's a moment of kindness and sincerity from Dunk when he says, I promise you, it's really not going to be like a good career move for you to be my squire, because he's such a humble hedge knight and he knows he's not really a knight at all. Whereas if Dunk was more selfish, he would probably accept Egg's help because it's free squire. Help. Yeah.
Child labor, let's go.
Let's go. And so Egg is all disappointed that he doesn't get accepted.
But Egg has ambition, and we'll see him again later. Dunk tosses him a penny for his work, and Egg's like, what am I going to do with that?
The star on the penny echoes the star on the shooting star that they see at the end of the episode.
It's a star. It's like a star. And
Stars
it's also,
are like
it's like a star. It's a 7-pointed star because we're in Westeros and septons are a thing.
Blue curtains because he's sad. I also think it's interesting that in the same way that Dunk gets bullied by these upper class people in this episode, Dunk is wielding his power against Egg in this episode when he's ordering him around and telling him to get oats and stuff. And so with these little hierarchies, they exist all the way from the tippy top all the way down to the bottom. There's power imbalances.
The really big worms get to command the teeny tiny worms, even though they're all just worms in the dirt.
There's like bureaucrats like Plumber who have their own little petty power that he's using. And so the uses and abuses of power are
you see
exist on every level of the scale.
Between the Fossaways, like even though they're both noble, like to Dunk, they're both like so far up the social ladder that he can't even see them. He can't even see their feet up on the ladder. But Stefan picks on Raymond because he's just like of the senior branch of the noble house they're both a part of. And maybe that'll come up again later on in the show if like talk of the Blackfyre rebellions ever comes up. If it's like, Dunk to Dunk, they're all just dragons. They're all Targaryens. They're all just like royal-blooded fancy pants princes. But it's the most important thing in the world to the Targaryens.
So in the books, there's this context about a war that happened 13 years prior to this adventure, where the Blackfyre bastard offshoot of the Targaryens rebelled against them. And we were speculating, like, how much are they going to talk about the Blackfyre rebellions in this show?
When George wrote the novella this show is based on, it looks like he hadn't cooked up the Blackfyre rebellions yet. He hadn't fleshed out the entirety of Targaryen history yet. So we're thinking, like, is the show going to retroactively add that context into this story?
I love these shots of the sunset and the silhouette of the horses and the trees. Like, one of the things about this small scale is that it's more grounded, it's more connected to nature, it's more connected to the seasons. Like, they're concerned about things like, I don't own a tent, so if it rains, I'll get wet. wet. Like these are like, think about late season Game of Thrones. Did Jon Snow or Daenerys ever get impacted by like the weather?
Even in stories where characters were on the road, like the Hound and Arya traveled to King's Landing from Winterfell on foot, there's no discussion of what that's going to be like for them.
Travel didn't matter. Like none of the feel, none of the logistics. Like there was no sense of time. There was
In
no sense
season
of
4, the Hound and Arya have a travel through the Riverlands, and they stop at people's houses and interact with them and have stories there. And like we see what it's like to travel. In season 8, they do the exact same like travel through the Riverlands, and we don't see any of it.
Yeah, Westeros loses all sense of place and all sense of time in the later seasons, whereas A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is taking us back. And it's shot so beautifully.
It's so
Look
lovely.
at this cinematography.
Yeah. And there's this slow introduction where we get to familiarize ourselves with the main setting of Ashford Meadow. It's so important to establish what this place is like.
And this is what the Reach should look like. It is the most fecund of the kingdoms.
It's the place of plenty.
Yeah.
It's supposed to feel more comfortable here than the north.
It's the land of Garth Greenhand.
Yeah.
The shot where we first see the tourney grounds and we see the tents and we see the castle in the distance, I would have liked a little more color here because almost all of these tents look brown or grey. That's a bit disappointing to me.
Well, who is supposed to be in these tents?
Tyrells and Lannisters and Baratheons.
I don't know. I think they're all going to be like you can't see the lists here.
Yeah, this is not like the whole
Yeah,
place.
I think that this is a distant attachment to the tourney goings on.
But still, this is the opening shot of Ashford Meadow. Yeah. This is our introduction to the setting of the show. I could have seen a bit more color here, a bit more excitement, a bit more splendor, because that's what the books emphasize, because it's about the image of royalty and heroism and adventure versus the realities. The ideals versus the having diarrhea behind a tree. So this shot gives us a nice glimpse of the mud, the rotted mud.
You wanted the glamorous idealism to contrast this before we see the mud.
Yeah, look how much brown and grey there is in this shot.
Well, these aren't the tourney knights. These aren't the people of high houses.
Yeah, he's cut. Yeah, I mean that's true.
This is the peasant yard.
He's coming in the workers' entrance, not the fancy.
Yeah, exactly.
lads.
That's what I'm saying.
But,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I hear you. What do you reckon is that crescent moon sigil on that tent?
Is that the Puppeteers tent?
Ooh, maybe.
I reckon it could be. I think it's like large enough.
There's a sun on that, and there's a moon on that. Sun and a moon. I can't think of any houses that have a sun and a moon
on their heraldry. What houses have a sun and a moon on their heraldry?
You might be right that it's the Puppeteers.
The answer is Tarth. Tarth has the sun and the moon on it.
Yeah, you're right.
That doesn't have the Tarth colors, this tent, though.
Well, it's a bit orangey, rosy. Yeah, I think you're right that it's probably the Puppeteers tent, but those are Tarth symbols, so it could be Tarth. Could be Brienne's great-great-grandpa.
Somewhere in this shot is Brienne's great-great-grandpa. Yeah, no, I checked with later on in the episode, and it's just the Puppeteers tent. I was right the first time. I don't know why we ever doubt me. It was the Puppeteers tent.
And here we see these statues.
Oh, so cool.
Which are such a great symbol and embodiment of this is the ideal of the perfect, romantic, heroic, wonderful knight.
And they're framing Dunk.
Yeah.
The man who we saw shit himself earlier.
Yeah. And like the idealized knight symbols are looming over the average real people who are working.
Yeah.
They're
elevated on these like 5-foot platforms. These people are carrying logs to erect the lists that these idealized knights are going to knock down.
No one's going to make a statue of the dudes who carry the logs. But you couldn't have the fancy lads jousting without the dudes who carry the logs.
Or the people who cook their food. We get Dunk looking at the lists, which I love so much. He's thinking like, oh, is this where I'm going to make my name? Is this where I'm going to die? Is this where I'm going to lose everything?
Because Dunk has never jousted in a tournament before.
Because it turns out he's not a knight.
So it is a pretty wild thing to do.
The only thing he has is that he's a big boy. And then he spots the Dondarrion banner flying over a pavilion. He recognizes that one.
So Dunk's intention is to find a Dondarrion to hopefully vouch for him to prove that Dunk is a knight. In the background, we see Ashford Castle, which is, not an especially big castle. It's not an especially powerful house. And the Ashfords are sworn to the Tyrells, which is the fancy rose flower people from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
This serving woman is being bothered by these guards, so she tells them to piss off.
And they all have a right laugh about it.
Just these little human interactions.
They probably all know each other.
So I like how he goes to Plumber, the steward, who's like organizing the games, and they're just like children play fighting in there, and there's guards coming and going.
I have some questions about these children. Who are they? Who belong? To whom do they belong? And what is their purpose narratively?
Maybe they're little lordlings. Like maybe they live at the castle, and
they're just bothering Plumber because they can. I feel a little bit like we're meant to connect them play fighting to Stefan and Raymond fighting in the yard later.
Yeah, true. Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, the kids' play fighting is cute until you realize that play fighting evolves into actual fighting, which evolves into real war and death and horror. So, again, it's that, like, image, idealization versus harsh reality.
Yeah, and, like, these kids could be family to each other. They could be cousins, the way Stefan and Raymond are cousins. And they're having fun at the moment, beating each other with swords. The funniest thing ever happens, and Dunk bumps his head on the doorway.
He does it twice.
He does it on his way out as well. It's comedy gold.
I do like the physicality here. You know, translating this from book to TV, they need to show Dunk's difficulty in fitting in, not only socially, but also just physically.
Dunk is a lunk. He's a clunk. He's gonna flunk.
Dunk's height and strength is an advantage, but it's also making him not quite fit and making him a bit uncomfortable in society. And they comment on that, which is great.
Yeah, he talks about how he, tries not to be noticed, which is going to be difficult for someone who looks like that.
Haven't we all been in situations like this? When you're dealing with some bureaucrat to get some important paperwork, to get some application, to get
and
some job.
This is life-changing stuff for you.
Yeah.
But for them, it's just fucking paperwork.
Yeah. And I love seeing that in a medieval context. So he's distracted, he's eating and he's spitting and Plumber just doesn't care.
He catches a fly later on.
Yeah, they had a bunch of flies, didn't they?
Yeah.
All making it earthy and grounded.
Well, they followed Dunk in. Plumber says, get rid of your escorts.
Oh, yeah, I didn't pick up on that one.
Yeah, he's talking about the flies.
Oh, yeah.
Because he smells like shit.
Probably never quite got that mud off from when he was a kid in the flashback. So Dunk tells a story about Arlen knighting him, which isn't true. And Plumber looks pretty skeptical about that story as well.
But it's above his pay grade. He doesn't really care.
I love how Dunk, like, formally and with great dignity shows the sword, presents the sword. Because, like, to Dunk, this sword is the most important object that he has.
Yeah, this is Arlen's sword. This is Sir Arlen's sword. This is the man who raised me. This is the man who made me what I am. And the penny there proves it. And Plumber says, yeah, that's a sword.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it just dawned on me that later on, if Dunk encounters financial troubles, he's going to consider getting rid of that penny. Someone's like, oh, you're 1 penny short, mate. He's like, shit.
I'm pretty hungry for that chicken. So Dunk says that, oh yeah, Arlen always meant for me to be a knight one day. And
that's him justifying to himself, oh, he's gonna knight me eventually.
And I mean, in the books, I think that that's true. Like in the books, I believe Dunk when he thinks that Arlen intended to knight Dunk. But in the TV show, he says Arlen was going to knight me one day.
And then we get a flashback where he asks Arlen, are you going to knight me? And he just spits on the ground.
Yeah, in the show, this flashback seems to say that Arlen has no particular intention to knight Dunk. Which I don't really like that change. Like, I like...
Yeah. It's funny. It makes it a funny shot, I guess.
It is funny. And, like, maybe we will get more flashbacks and maybe we will get some indication that, like, Arlen maybe did intend to knight Dunk at some point. They've got this, like, faded, dark border around the shot for these flashbacks, which is interesting.
It definitely just, like, puts you in a different spot as a viewer.
It's an interesting technique, these little short, sharp, quick flashbacks. I wonder how many more we will get.
Well, Arlen is credited only in this one episode, isn't he, on IMDb?
Well, IMDb is not an official source of information.
Well, it's the best we got at the moment, mate, okay?
I like the language Dunk uses here. When he was dying, he called for his longsword and bade me kneel, charged me to be a good knight. Because part of how we establish our legitimacy and authenticity in our social classes and roles is the language that we use. A different
code of words, yeah.
And so, people comment on Dunk's clothing. He doesn't look like a knight. They comment on his language. He doesn't talk like a knight. They comment on his smell. He doesn't smell like a knight. Like these like superficial things are all part of how we are judged, and how our place in society is determined. And so the story is partly about that class stuff. Plummer then messes with Dunk by telling the story about if you make a false oath in this town, we hang you naked by your hands and feet and lower you asshole first onto a sharpened point and, quote, fuck you dry. Which is a bit much, I think.
Yeah.
And like that's on top of the diarrhea shot at the start and the child hitting at the start. And also the line about stop raping, sir. Like maybe I'm being precious. There's a lot of
Crude
assault stuff, which none of that is in the books.
Yeah.
It's just not very funny. It's just a bit gross.
This bit in particular did just, it was just off-putting.
Yeah, it's a bit weird and a bit off-putting.
The way Peter Claffey says, stop raping, sir, that is funny in isolation. And it harkens to mind Mark Rebier.
No more rape.
Like Dunk's idea of that's what the City Watch is like. That's what makes that funny to me.
And
is that
delivery
he thinks
of
that
the
a
line
City
is
Watchman is just
hysterical,
like you go up to someone currently committing a horrendous crime and say, "Stop doing that," and just wave a sword at them and speak sternly. That's what a City Watchman is like. But this here, Plummer just like dryly bullshitting Dunk and saying we're going to shove sharp objects up your rectum. It's like, yeah, what's the point of that?
Yeah, it's not pleasant. And
The scene was funny enough before that. We're analyzing comedy now. What have we done?
That's one of the hazards of this series, isn't it? Is that a lot of this show is more just sort of light and comedic. And what we're meant to do is just giggle at this and move on. The show doesn't want us to overthink this. So maybe we are overthinking it. But I think it's
the
also...
issue with this bit is that this bit wasn't light and funny. This was like,
Yeah, it's interesting watching them thread that needle between trying to be a little bit subversive and deconstructive without being gross and off-putting too much, you know? It's a fine line. I do like how Plummer says, this is the Reach, not the Riverlands.
As though they would be doing that at Pink Maiden.
But the Reach is better than the Riverlands, and so we wouldn't have that problem. And also later in the scenes with Lionel Baratheon, Lionel talks about, we are Stormlanders, and we do like the brave thing, because that's what Stormlanders do. So I really like that they're giving this like local cultural pride that each kingdom has in their own way of doing things. Because we don't really see that much in Game of Thrones.
Absolutely not.
But it's important that people have like a sense of place.
Yeah, you get the feeling that like the North feel distinct, the Dornish feel distinct, and everyone in between, they're just sort of there. They're just like sort of the one thing. This first episode is trying to make them distinct. And then the Plumber sort of takes a little bit of pity on Dunk when he looks at the winged chalice on his shield and he says, is there anyone here who might know your old master who could vouch for your good honor?
Yeah, I like how Plummer at first doesn't really give a shit, but he sees the disappointment in Dunk's eyes and he sees the battered shield on his back and he takes pity.
People are just responsive to Dunk's honesty. I think that's what it comes down to.
So Dunk wants to go find Manfred Dondarrion.
Because he reckons Manfred Dondarrion's going to be like, oh, I remember Arlen of Pennytree, that one knight who served my father 10 years ago or whatever.
It's not a great lead. And so he gets and he finds Manfred Dondarrion's tent, but Manfred is asleep. And Dunk meets these two women who I believe are named Red and Beone. Beone?
Beone. We meet Manfred later on and he seems like the sort of guy who would keep a entourage of sex workers following him around, I suppose.
An entire gaggle. My goodness.
Is gaggle accurate?
So the books talk about how whenever there's a big gathering, like a tournament or an army, there's often a bunch of camp followers, as they're called, or washerwomen, who sometimes do work like sex work and sometimes do cleaning the clothes and cooking, and there's a bunch of women involved in all of these big camps of men. And it's like characters like Roz in Game of Thrones, who we're familiar with, turns up, and like Shay. So this has always been part of the
fabric of Westerosi military culture.
And here they're just kind of having fun fucking with Dunk.
Yeah. It's sad at his expense, but like each of these scenes is sort of at Dunk's expense, like showing him that this is what the world's going to treat him like as a hedge knight.
Yeah, this is what Dunk's up against, is a world that does not take him seriously.
Yeah.
Red and Beone mock Dunk and say the hedge knights are sad because they haven't got a home and they steep in a hedge.
Red seems to exclusively refer to Dunk with it pronouns.
Yeah, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
That's really,
especially because Red is like in a profession which so so regularly objectifies and dehumanizes her.
Well, I think that's one of the themes of this episode is that everyone punches down.
Yeah. Do you think George R. Martin is standing off to the side here just saying, more red wigs, more redheads?
Yeah, so it's funny that like Red is redheaded, Beanie has red hair, and Daisy has red hair.
Later on. Yeah.
George Martin likes redheads.
It's a known fact.
So it's no surprise that a few of them turn up here. And there is a line in this book, The Hedge Knight, which mentions that Dunk sees some, quote, whores who are hot, who have red hair. And so I think they've expanded that into these characters, Red, Beanie, and Daisy.
Did you want to talk about that?
So you can see in the background that that's the banners of House Tyrell. And you'll remember the Tyrells from Marjorie Tyrell and Olenna and Mace Tyrell.
Oh, I remember
in Game
now.
Of Thrones. You remember now. These are Tyrell objects. So, like, Lord Leo Tyrell, nicknamed Longthorn, is at this tournament, and this must be his stuff.
His objects.
So, yeah, I like these little blink or you'll miss it little references to characters who will pop up later.
The purpose of this shot is to show us that Dunk is looking for the Dondarrion banner, right? That's that's how this scene is framed. So there was no need to include the Tyrell banner and objects here, but they did it. Isn't that great?
It's the sort of thing that sometimes was missing in the later seasons of Game of Thrones.
You don't say.
The care given to some of those minor textures and props and background things. I also like how Dunk talks to Sweetfoot and tells Sweetfoot to look after the other two horses.
Yeah, they're gonna get up to some sort of trouble.
I also
Is that Daisy?
That's Daisy. We get to see Daisy enjoying a chicken leg. And, Beanie also says, oh, I'll wake up Manfred for a stag. And Dunk says, I have no stag. I have no money. So again, just reminding us of this class difference, wealth difference between Dunk and all these others. Beanie says that Manfred is on a mission to turn the whole world red.
Is this an old-timey expression?
Yeah, I've never heard that expression. Like, I think she's saying that, like, he wants to have sex with every woman and leave them red with how vigorously he's going to copulate with everybody, which is like, oh my, what an image.
Charming young man.
What an image. And then they connect that to the color of Red and Beanie's hair.
And Red's name is Red.
And Red's name is Red.
Is that because is she doing a pun here, or is it just like the writers called her Red because of this one line? I don't know.
It's a very odd, just sort of like associative word salad that they're just doing, which, I thought that was our job. But
yeah, we'll build the word clouds from here, guys. It's his hair. He's talking about his hair. He's going to make more redheaded children by fucking everything.
Is that the Bracken sigil in the background?
My goodness, it is.
Eagle-eyed viewers will spot the Bracken tent over there, which should canonically be as far as possible away from the Blackwood tent.
Yeah, of course. Cuttlefish-eyed viewers will not be able to watch this show, unfortunately.
We see Stefan Fossaway sparring with his cousin and squire Raymond Fossaway.
My Raymond Fossaway enjoys in chat speak up. Apples in the chat.
Apples in the chat. Stefan puts Raymond down with a slap to the face, which is so rude.
When was the last time we got this strong an indication in the first seconds of screen time that a character is a massive dickhead?
What's he so angry about? Although he also notices Peter Claffey's enthralling blue eyes.
Piercing gaze.
He calls him a see you next Tuesday, but he also says, my, what beautiful eyes you have, all in the same sentence.
It's a lot to unpack for poor
It's
Dunk.
a lot. And Dunk, who's just been chatting to his horse, is like, he doesn't know how to process this. And I really like this line, which isn't in the book, when Stefan's like, is that a long sword you wear? And Dunk is like, oh yes, it's mine.
It is mine by right.
It's mine by right.
I earned it.
The implication being, I didn't steal it. What do you mean I'm not a real knight?
Yeah.
He's all defensive because Dunk is faking being a knight, and he feels out of place, and he feels like an imposter, so...
And then Stefan says, well, that's a fucking weird thing to say.
Look at Raymond's body language here. Isn't that wonderful how hunched and uncomfortable Raymond is compared to Stefan leering and looming so confidently?
He's showing us his social status through his physical stance.
Yeah, the way they take up space reflects their social status. So Stefan tells Dunk to spar with him, but Dunk chooses not to. And there's a series of apple-related puns.
Which is the only reason I wanted to watch this show in the first place.
Knock the seeds out of him.
Fantastic.
I really like Dunk's language here, where he's like, "Oh, I thank you, but I have matters to attend." And you can see that this kind of language is not natural to Dunk.
Yeah.
Dunk speaks in a much more simple, straightforward, lower class way, but he's trying to act like a knight.
Like the natural thing for Dunk to say here is, sorry, I've got to go.
Yeah.
I've got shit to do.
Nah, mate, I'm busy. That's what he would say.
Yeah, catch you later.
See yous. Catch you on the flips. Catch you on the flip. I got a flop. You ever say that?
Yeah.
Catch you on the flip.
All the
I got a
time,
flop.
actually. I'm saying that when I see people and I don't plan on going anywhere.
It
really confuses them, but they like it.
What? Matters of the hedge, I have no doubt.
And he has a little cackle to himself. Like, it's the funniest thing. And everyone's like, okay, he's a hedge knight, and you said, yep, you're going to go see to a hedge, are you? Like, damn, that's a good one, man.
This is actually hysterical, the way Stefan laughs at his own joke uproariously. And in the background, we hear a couple of other men laugh along with
good
him.
one, Stefan.
Yeah, good one, Stefan.
Did they even hear what was happening?
Exactly. It's so fake. Ooh, look at that statue. Sweetfoot sticks her tongue out.
Oh, she's a silly girl.
She is a goofy girl, isn't she?
XD random.
Look at her bangs. Look at Sweetfoot's bangs.
Yeah, Sweetfoot's a scene kid.
So Plumber said that Dunk stinks, so Dunk goes and has a bath, not very successfully.
But we do get to see Peter Claffey's bare ass.
So now we get a shot of Red with this bloke who's not wearing pants. And I think at first I thought, is she blowing him? Is this a sex act? Because she's a sex worker? But no, I think that she's repairing his pants.
It did seem like, more... I mean, I was going to say transactional, but it was all going to be transactional, wasn't it?
Yeah, it is a transaction. This is like a side hustle for Red, I think.
Or maybe it's not even a side... It's just a part of the same gig.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe it's the main hustle.
She's a camp follower. In her experience, that involves having sex with Manfred Dondarrion.
Yeah, which is like, what a job description. I think it's quite fun seeing the way this man is patiently and politely waiting for his pants to be fixed.
To be crude, Red's and the other women's, their role in this camp is woman.
Yeah.
They do the things that women do. And to the men in the camp, that is fix my clothes, make my food, have sex with me.
Yeah, it's the most sort of like crudely essentialized kind of sexism of like, this is what woman is, do the things that woman is.
All the women are here to be woman.
And like there's the squires who are servants to the knights, and they tend to the horses and they do the campfires and they clean the armor. But
they're there to be boy.
But that's like, boy acceptable tasks.
Their job is boy.
The female coded tasks, no, you wouldn't get a squire to wash clothes. They are dressing up Daisy to look like a corpse. They've got a funeral shroud over her.
You'll remember that the stones over the eyeballs are a symbol of... They're a thing that the Silent Sisters do to corpses in Westeros. In the first episode of Game of Thrones, you see Jon Arryn with them. Yeah,
it was actually invented by the show in the pilot episode. It's not in the books. Dunk at first seems to think, oh shit, like there's a dead girl in the tent.
What happened here?
But then Daisy gets up and talks and he's like, whoa, she's alive. So Dunk doesn't really seem to process what's going on at all. But I think what's going on is that
this is someone's fetish.
Yeah.
Someone's into this.
Yeah, someone wants to like role play having sex with Daisy as a corpse. That's weird.
I think it's more of the same objectification, like the body is the body and that's all that matters to men.
Yeah.
But perhaps that's the point.
In the scene, they talk about how being a knight is dangerous and being a sex worker is dangerous.
Yes, one whore to another.
And these women are telling Dunk, hey, like just be aware of the risk you're taking, huh? It does make a lot of sense because both sex workers and knights risk their body for the sake of other people.
Yeah, it's about service to another more powerful person.
Turning your body into a tool for someone else.
That line, it must put its body in hazard for the service of strangers.
Yeah, the fact that Red keeps calling Dunk it.
Yeah, so while comparing knighthood to her profession, sex workers.
Because by calling Dunk it, she is objectifying him.
And by comparing knighthood to her profession, she's objectifying herself. Like, she's being very clear about what's going on here. It's like strange dialogue, but I think it gets across a really cool message in a very interesting way. And it all comes off as quite derogatory towards Dunk, and then until he calls it out, he's like, "Are you like why is everyone doing this? Why is everyone treating me like shit? Why does everyone mock me?"
Yeah.
And like, "Oh, we didn't sorry, guy. We're just riffing here."
Yeah. We're just letting you know that this is how it is.
Yeah.
And Dunk achieves that connection with them by being just honest, just by saying, "Why are you being mean to me?"
Yeah, when you could react differently and say, "Well, fuck you guys, I'm leaving, or I'm gonna hurt you." Like, no, Dunk says, "Hey, that makes me feel bad," and then they're like, "Oh, sorry, we didn't mean to do." That's so nice.
Dunk doesn't play the game; he just says what he feels. Yeah. Honestly, it's just like later on with Lionel.
Exactly.
When Lionel is fucking with Dunk and he's saying, "What gift have you brought me? You must have come to murder me." And it's like, "Why are you here, Dunk?"
Came for the free food.
Dunk just says, "Oh, supper." And Lionel just like breaks. He's just like,
I didn't even realize that was an option.
Like everyone here is just like fucking around and playing games and being mean to each other. And Dunk's just like, "I just want to be nice and have supper."
There was food.
He sees a performance by a group of puppeteers, including Tanselle,
who's reciting a poem about a legendary knight with the mirror shield facing a dragon.
Serwyn
of
the mirror shield. Tanselle's poem, which describes Serwyn, also seems to refer to Dunk in certain ways.
That's crazy. Are you telling me that this dialogue has subtext?
I know.
That is wild.
And honor his ambition must keep a truth concealed.
This is, in my head, the show flat out telling us that Dunk is not a knight. Yes. I think it's like beyond reasonable doubt now.
So we know that Dunk's not really a knight, and so that's the truth that is concealed.
And then there's a very impressive pyrotechnics display if you're a medieval tourney goer. Whoa. In the novel, I'm pretty sure this puppet show is nowhere near this flamboyant.
Yeah.
And also, I'm pretty sure that Tanselle was a puppeteer in the novel, wasn't she? Whereas here, she's, just reciting a poem dramatically.
She's the front man of the whole mama troupe.
And I guess that makes sense if, we, the audience, are supposed to notice her. Then we get some shots of Tanselle being cute and Dunk noticing her being cute.
I really like these little shots of Tanselle because I feel like it communicates a lot about Tanselle. Like Tanselle is pleased with her performance and she's a bit nervous and self-conscious. I feel like there's a lot of characterization that goes on in these little shots, which I really like.
And then Dunk is completely taken by her.
Like they seem to share a similar energy, Dunk and Tanselle.
Yeah, they're both new to this and they're nervous about their performances, shall we say.
Tanselle is performing for entertainment in a similar way to like the knights are and the sex workers are, and we're all puppets, we're all dancing for the rich people.
All the world's a stage.
All the world's a stage.
And we are merely players, performers and portrayers.
Doing a pyrotechnic display inside a tent seems hazardous.
Well, that's why she's so happy about how it went off.
She's just like, yes, I still have my hair. What a cool tent.
What an epic tent. Have you ever seen a cooler tent?
I have never seen a cooler tent. Lionel Baratheon's tent is huge and it's covered in antlers because the Baratheon sigil is a stag.
A crowned stag. Do these stags have crowns?
Yes, they're
fantastic. Season 1 of Game of Thrones. We're doing this, by the way. In Season 1 of Game of Thrones, Maester Luwin says that the Baratheon sigil has a crown now that Robert Baratheon is the king.
Bran
says that. But before that, they didn't have a crown on their sigil. This appears to be an error in Game of Thrones because the Baratheon sigil comes from House Durrandon, which from whom the Baratheons descend, in addition to the Targaryens. Mm-hmm. So they took their sigil, and the Durrandons were the kings of the Stormlands, so their sigil was a crowned stag.
Bran in the TV show says that the Baratheons only got a crown after Robert Baratheon became king. However, in House of the Dragon, the Baratheon sigil has a crown, and now in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, the Baratheon sigil has a crown. We have never seen an uncrowned Baratheon sigil.
Even in the Game of Thrones DVD extras set prior to Robert's Rebellion.
So, you know what I think the reasonable conclusion is?
Bran was wrong.
Stupid
kid got a geography fact wrong, got a history fact wrong.
What's funny is that Maester Luwin doesn't correct him.
And like the whole thing is like, we're here to make sure you know the heraldry and words and places of all the houses in Westeros. And Bran just got the Baratheon sigil. I mean, he didn't get it wrong, but he got the history of it wrong. And Lewin would know that, obviously. He lived through Robert's Rebellion.
Okay, so, I actually did a bit more research into this, and turns out it's more complicated than we're letting on here. There are some Season 7 DVD extras where it's very clear that the Baratheon sigil pre-Robert's Rebellion still had the crown on it, because, it didn't matter that they weren't kings, that's just what the sigil was.
The crowned stag became the sigil of House Baratheon.
However, there are Season 1 DVD extras where it's actually consistent with what Bran says, where the Baratheon sigil is an uncrowned stag, and it appears to be a decision they made that it was Robert's Rebellion that brought the crown back to the stag after it went away when the Durrandons were no longer kings of the Stormlands. So that's crazy that they decided that and ran with it and it was consistent, and then they forgot about it when they got to the later seasons.
The crowned stag became the sigil of House Baratheon.
When I made my video about how many legs the Targaryen sigil has in all the various adaptations of A Song of Ice and Fire, I said that that was the only sigil that was that fucked up, but I was wrong. The Baratheon sigil, they messed up. They forgot.
I've had a profound thought, if anyone would care to listen.
That's going on the soundboard immediately.
I like how we see the musicians playing the instruments.
Diegetic music time, everyone.
Diegetic music. What's diegetic music?
Diegetic music is music in a show that is created in the universe of the show. Most music you hear, most soundtracks, is non-diegetic music. There's no source in universe for the music you're hearing. Dunk is hearing this music as we're hearing it.
I really like how, Raymond brings Dunk to this party.
And then he fucks off.
And then he leaves. And Dunk's like, oh, what are you doing? You're leaving me alone at this party where I don't know anyone.
Hey, mate, that's Lionel Baratheon. See ya.
Yeah.
I'm off to do some other stuff.
Lionel Baratheon. He is
Ladies and gentlemen, Lionel Baratheon.
Knight of House Baratheon. It's funny, you get Lord energy from Lionel.
He's wearing a crown.
He's wearing is it a crown or is it a coronet? Is it an antlered...
A circlet?
Helm? Is it an antlered circlet?
No, Senate. It's just a diadem.
Whatever you call it, it sure seems a bit like a crown. He's acting a bit like a king, which is maybe lightly cheeky, maybe light treason, because the Targaryens are the kings. No one else is meant to wear a crown. I like how they're sort of making it seem like the Baratheons have always been a little bit cheeky and a little bit rising above their station, wanting to be king, because eventually in Robert's Baratheon, they do become the kings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Baratheons, continuously treasonous for several centuries.
So Dunk settles into the party, and Lionel Baratheon is presiding. The Laughing Storm, a knight of House Baratheon.
Well, he's trying to preside, but he can't hear himself over all of this diegetic music.
Lionel gives a really quite bewildering speech. It's a very strange speech where he talks about jousting in a very eccentric way, and he says that it was the first ever joust, but jousting is so fun that jousting could not have been invented by men. So
who was it?
Who invented jousting? And Lionel doesn't seem to be able to answer his own question. Because he says man, beast, or god later. Maybe he's saying that beasts invented jousting. Maybe he's saying that women invented jousting.
Another thing going on here is the ongoing comparison between the night work and sex work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And George has done this so much where swords are penises and jousting is sex and combat
they talk
is
about
sex.
that in the Mystery Night, and Barbary Dustin talks about that in A Dance with Dragons. Combat and sex and combat and dancing are equated many times.
Yeah.
House of the Dragon Season 1 intercuts a jousting and knight's combat with Emma Arryn giving birth. And so sex
and dying
and
of
violence and life and death are constantly equated.
Yeah.
His performance is so funny.
Captivating.
Daniel Ings, George Martin, the author, has said that he loved Daniel Ings's performance here. Because it's so fun and it's so charismatic, and he's laughing at himself and he's laughing with us, and he just is loving the attention.
Yeah.
Lionel just loves hearing himself talk, and he loves being the center of attention, and he loves wearing a big hat and being kooky and throwing people off and getting a reaction.
And dancing and stepping on people's feet and then having people step on his feet and going, fuck you, but I love you. Let's keep drinking.
I think it's cool seeing how this expanded version of Lionel grew from his depiction in the books.
Yeah, this is all whole cloth made up for the show. But George approves it as being thematically and characterfully in line. It's all appropriate.
Lionel says, 100 gold to the man, beast, or god who sticks me best.
He doesn't say gold dragons. He just says gold.
They usually say gold dragons.
Yeah. Is it because he's a slightly treasonous at all times Baratheon sort of guy?
He chooses not to acknowledge the dragons. Maybe it sticks in his craw that the dragon is the golden valuable coin and the stag is the lesser silver coin.
And he's from the bastard line. He's from the Oris Baratheon line. He's got a chip on his shoulder about being from the bastard lineage of House Targaryen.
Lionel is so fun. He is quite incoherent here.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he just suddenly says, 100 gold to the man, beast, or god who sticks me best.
Oh, yeah, he's drunk. He's got a lot of thoughts going on in his head, and he doesn't know how to file them.
It's just like nonsense theatrics. I think it's such a bold choice to have dialogue that makes so little sense.
Well, it makes sense for the character to not make sense. Yeah, on paper, if you were just looking at the script of this, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on here? But then you watch it and you're like, he's crazy. Of course.
He's fun and crazy. I really love how Dunk awkwardly sips on his drink while Lionel is talking. Dunk is thrilled by the enormous, like, is that a turkey leg? Like, what?
Dude, that's a fucking ostrich leg. I don't know what's going on here.
That's the biggest chunk of poultry I've ever seen, and Dunk is thrilled. So an enormous amount of fun is happening. Dunk is mostly in it for the food. And then Lionel's people like gesture for Dunk to come over and chat. And I think Lionel wanted to talk to Dunk because Dunk is tall and is different and sort of stands out a bit. And I think part of it is that these knights, they're sizing each other up for the joust.
Yeah,
and
Dunk
Lionel
is clearly like
Dunk.
a contender. He's someone to take note of in this setting.
This again reminds me so much of Jon Snow meeting Mance Rayder.
Yeah. And Lionel says to Dunk, you ever been punched in the face before? Of course Dunk's been punched in the face. But like, it's such an out-of-pocket question that Dunk's like, what are you, what?
Yeah, Lionel just delights in throwing people off and fucking with people. I mean, it's very similar to how Red and Bearney rib Dunk and mess with Dunk. I think that the writers found out very, very quickly that there's a lot of comedy in people fucking with Dunk because Dunk is kind of unfuckwithable because
he's so honest.
Is so honest and open and he doesn't play the game.
He just tells you what he's thinking. You say something strange to him, he's like, that's a strange thing to say.
Yeah.
You're mean to him, he's like, that was mean.
Yeah.
Like, that's not fucking with someone, that's just being mean.
It's kind of impossible to bully him. And so Lionel observes that Dunk kind of slouches and hides, and Dunk says that when he grew up in Flea Bottom, he had to learn to go unnoticed.
But Lionel says, the gods gave you the gift of tallness, so you should be tall. So Dunk's like rejecting what he's been given in life by slouching and trying to go unnoticed. And Lionel says, no, dude, look at you. You should be noticed. You should be huge.
A bit like when Tyrion tells Jon Snow. Like, if they call you a bastard, if they call you Lord Snow, just own it. Wear it like armor. Be yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, don't deny who you are. Use who you are. Be it. And Lionel sure as hell is owning who he is.
He's being who he is. He's a weird, kooky, life of the party guy. And if he were putting that off, it would be worse for everyone. Lionel says that Dunk has been cowering like a maiden on her wedding night, which is another comparison to Dunk and a woman in a sexual situation.
Yeah, Dunk as a sexual object and equating knights with sex objects. And also there's sexual tension between Lionel and Dunk. Lionel talks about hitting each other with sticks for a bit of gay fun and then calls Dunk a maiden on her wedding night. And then they do this like stomping dance where they get quite intimate. And so and I think Dunk is oblivious to the sexual tension from Lionel, I think. But it's there. And
Lionel might be oblivious to it too, but it's there.
Yeah. It's like Ned and Robert. Like people read sexual tension.
That's the gayest thing in the entire book, Ned and Robert.
Ned,
but both of them are like straight as straight as a lamppost.
Ned talks about Robert being muscled like a maiden's fantasy when he was younger.
And Cat's
Robert,
like, should I be worried?
And Robert talks about, oh, these fruits are exploding in your mouth. It's so sweet. And it's like, all right. I hope the entire series just keeps on having this
people
joke
hitting on Dunk and he has no idea. And then like the one person he has a crush on, he has no idea how to talk to.
What have you brought me?
I think this is still just trying to fuck with Dunk. Actually, maybe this is just like Lionel's expectation. He's like, okay, what's going on here then?
Yeah, I think that there are like social rules of etiquette that are expected that Dunk is oblivious.
Of course, it's a comedy of manners.
I mean, Dunk has come empty-handed to a party.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he was expected to
Bring a punch bowl.
Yeah, or at least to, you know, maybe he was meant to greet the host when he came into the party or something.
But fucking Raymond Fossaway didn't tell him that.
It's like being invited to a party and then finding out that it's a fancy dress and you're not a fancy dress.
Or that it's a swingers party and you're expected to put your keys in the bowl.
I really like the way they wield language. Like, I really like how Lionel so confidently and playfully speaks, while Dunk is so uncertain and awkward with his speech.
Yeah.
Then why the fuck are you in my tent?
So it's all supper.
So I'm pretty sure that Dunk saying supper like that is the funniest thing we've gotten out of Westeros. And if it's not that, then it's the awkward silence followed by Lionel's cackling directly afterwards.
Dunk, Sir Dunk.
That's ridiculous.
That's the worst name I ever heard.
And yeah, the fact that Lionel says, you can't be called Dunk, that's a ridiculous name. You can't be Sir Dunk.
How could you be called Sir Dunk?
That leads to Dunk at the end of this episode deciding to be called Sir Duncan the Tall, because Lionel said be tall. So Duncan decided, oh, I'll call myself Duncan the Tall. And Egg at the end of the episode tells Dunk, oh, you should be Duncan, not Dunk. And so we see how within the space of this episode, Dunk created an identity for himself, created a name for himself, and it's assembled from the people who he met today.
At the start of this episode, he wasn't Sir, he wasn't Duncan, and he wasn't the Tall. He wasn't any of those things.
He's going to sleep with a different name than he woke up with, which is incredible. You can just do that. You can just make up a name for yourself and it becomes your identity. It's incredible sorcery. And George plays with that all the time. Like Theon becomes Reek and Arya becomes Weasel and Ari and no one.
And Melisandre.
Arya doesn't become Melisandre.
You haven't gotten to that bit
Only
yet.
in my fanfic.
And Tywin becomes the Dusky Woman.
And Euron becomes Dario.
And Tyrek becomes a horse. Yes, I know you were waiting. Let's just get on with it.
Say the line, Bart.
Look at Lionel go.
Lionel's dancing is so fucking good. I love it so much.
And I love how it cuts directly from the dance to this like quieter bit at the end of the party when Lionel is just like sort of drunkenly, quietly whispering to Dunk, and somehow the crown found its way onto Dunk's head. No explanation required.
It tells the story beautifully of how the party progressed. So this is Lionel's move when he wants to seduce someone, is after dancing, Lionel tells a story about how cool and brave he is by telling the story of when he sailed into a storm and it was dangerous, but he was brave because I have to show how brave I am because that's the nature of man.
Because that's the role I perform.
So it's a self-aggrandizing story that Lionel tells.
Really cool that we're finally seeing some granularity to the cultural distinctions in the lower parts of Westeros.
Lionel's saying, yeah, look, you just got to be brave and face danger. And Dunk says, I agonize a lot. He says that he's anxious and he is anxious about his anxiety, relatable, and Dunk worries that he doesn't have a good chance of winning in this tournament. Lionel says that Dunk has no chance of winning and he doesn't know what to do.
The thing with your anxiety, Dunk, is it's well-founded.
Yeah. Some things are worrisome and we can't fix, and so it's tough to deal with those.
It's easier for Lionel. He's rich.
But Dunk has very real anxieties that he won't be able to have a job or have a place to sleep, because if he loses a joust, he will lose his horse arms and armor, and he can't afford to buy it back, and so he can't be a knight.
And that is so unthinkably pathetic to Lionel that he just laughs.
Yeah,
it's like it hadn't even occurred to him that those were the stakes.
So Lionel like enjoys chatting with Dunk, but like he doesn't bridge that gap far enough to actually have the sympathy to actually do something about it.
I mean, Dunk doesn't even think to ask, like, what? Of course, Dunk's not going to ask him.
Because if you start treating one lower class person as a human being, you'd be
suddenly they're all going to want to be treated like human beings.
Yeah, you'd have to acknowledge that everybody is a human being.
And suddenly I can't have sex with the corpse girl that I asked for.
I really like the detail of Lionel stomps off and he puts his
Takes the
antlered crown on.
And he bumps into the chandelier and says, oh, sorry. What a great idea for a scene.
Yeah. Not in the books, but a lot of fun. So Dunk follows Manfred out of the tent. They talk about how Arlen and Dunk as squire served House Dondarrion in a war a few years ago. Dunk and Arlen were part of the force that went to fight the Vulture King.
And Dunk's like, hey, you remember Arlen of Pennytree? He fought for your father. And Manfred's like, what are you talking about? I'm trying to have drunk sex with these women.
But I really like how Dunk is like, how could you have forgotten him? Like, he really genuinely is shocked that Manfred doesn't remember.
Well, it's real and tangible to Dunk. He was there. Arlen was wounded. He went through all of this. And to Manfred, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice that they use another one of these quick flashbacks, which is a really interesting device that we've never seen before in Game of Thrones shows. And so that's why it's so shocking to Dunk.
It's also snappy. Like, in the edit, it contributes to the pace of the show.
Yeah, Manfred is a douche. I really like the performance of Manfred Dondarrion. Like, I like his accent. Like, he's, oh, I'm such a fancy, arrogant, noble knight. Fuck you.
The usage of the word brother when Manfred says, no, you brother, be gone. It's so cutting. Like, how dare you call me brother and tell me to fuck off like that?
True, yeah. Brother is normally a word of such, like, closeness and
camaraderie.
Yeah.
Whereas this is, it's like an insult.
What have you done, Manfred? Arlen was the one who bled in the mountains for the Dondarrions.
Yeah. For your house, for your inheritance.
And Manfred will not do so much as vouch for Dunk, just to say some words to help him out.
Yeah.
So again, it's like, what is it to be a true knight? Because Manfred, by the legal definition, is a true knight. In reality, Dunk, even though Dunk is a fake knight, he's more moral and he's more decent than all of these true knights.
Manfred Dondarrion is not hung like a Dornishman. He has hung Dornishment. So he's an idiot because he means hanged.
Yeah, he's not a tapestry.
No. That's such a great line.
Oh, yeah. Bring back, is it Diana Rigg? Bring back Diana Rigg, who played Olenna.
She's dead.
I really like this look. Jeez, thanks, Glidus. Thanks for bringing down the tone. She's dead.
Red is like, oh, I feel sad that Manfred is treating you like this.
Yeah, it's this little look of like, oh, sorry, this sucks. Sorry, I can't help you, but I've got to go and bang this posho. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not following him because I love him.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if they can continue to tease out that character. Dunk comes back to his campsite where he...
Back to his tree.
Yeah, back to his tree site.
There's my pavilion.
That's true.
Where he finds a little egg from earlier, cooking a fish by a campfire. He's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And Egg says, what does it look like I'm doing? I'm cooking a fish, mate. You want some?
I love how completely confuddled Dunk is to find Egg here, whereas Egg is just completely matter of fact.
Oh, I washed your clothes, I set up a campfire, I caught a fish, I'm cooking the fish. Do you want some?
I mean, Egg is quite smug and quite pleased with himself at having accomplished all of this.
Egg says, oh, I got here on a lamb cart. And Dunk says, a lamb cart? Like it's the oldest trick in the book.
Nah, I should have thought of the lamb cart. Egg is like, checkmate, Dunk. I got here, I've done the stuff, so you'll have to accept me as squire.
I left the inn, I'm here. You have fish now because of me. You have to accept me.
And Dunk's like, well, fair play. You got me there.
Guess I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, so it's a very cute dynamic, like the confident, capable young boy and the slightly dense
also
adult.
drunk.
I mean, Dunk must be so turned around after everything that's happened today.
Yeah, what a day.
With like Lionel and Manfred and Red, and it's like, it's just been a lot. And so when he comes home and someone's cooked him a fish, it's like, well,
fine.
Yeah.
A lamb cart, I guess.
And so Egg demands to know, what is your name? Egg, like Lionel, says, well, you can't be so Dunk. That's ridiculous. And Egg suggests that Dunk is short for Duncan.
It must be short for Duncan.
Is it short for Duncan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dunk seems to have never considered that before, but he agrees.
Yeah, I guess it is. And in the novella, he thinks, oh, I guess it actually it is, yeah. Maybe it is.
Lionel said be tall, so he says he's Duncan the Tall.
And he decided earlier that he's a knight, so Sir Duncan the Tall it is.
Sir Duncan the Tall.
I love that you can see him inventing the identity in his head.
I love Egg's face, poor Egg's scared face, when Dunk is like, by rights, I should beat you bloody and send you home.
Poor little Egg. Don't beat that egg. Don't scramble my egg. It's concerning the pavilion and the tree. Dunk's like, I don't want to be in some smoky tent. I want, like, it's such a small thing. I want to point out that there's no judgment of the class. He's not saying, oh, I don't want to be in some posh, hoity-toity silken tent all night. It's just about the practicality. I don't want to be in some smoky tent. It's his justification for how poor he is, but it's also, like, non-judgmental of the people above him. He doesn't care.
The story is so much about how it sucks that assholes like Manfred get all these advantages.
And
but
Dunk never meditates
so.
on it. Yeah.
Dunk never says, oh, the class system is wrong and we need to end feudalism
He's
and
just going
abolish
through it.
the hierarchy. So it's never like preachy.
Yes,
Dunk,
it's just put there in front of the reader.
He's a great hero because he doesn't really think about these highfalutin ideas. He's just focused on practical realities and what people need.
Helping
in the
people in front of him, doing what's right in front of him.
That's heroism. What work is there to be done that needs doing? That's heroism. Dunk decides to accept Egg as his squire, at least for the time being. In this moment, this is the first time that we see Dunk confident.
Yeah.
Like, Dunk gets talking about what it's like to be a squire to a hedge knight, because that's the one thing that Dunk knows how to do.
It's the identity he's had the longest. It's the one he knows.
Yeah.
And right now he's like slipping into the identity of his former mentor, Arlen.
Yeah. Dunk
and
is
he
sort
knows
of...
Arlen. He knows how to be Arlen, sort of, because he watched him for so long.
Now, for the first time, Dunk really like knows what he's talking about and is telling Egg what's what. And so it's really cool for this to end on Dunk showing some confidence at the end of this very uncertain episode.
It's not clear to me that the first episode should end at this scene, but in retrospect, it absolutely is. Like, of course you would end the first episode here. It's such a lovely bow on the introduction to Dunk. I love that Dunk, like, he thinks of himself as continuing a legacy of a great knight. Even though he's learning across this episode that Arlen wasn't like some great knight of much reverence.
Yeah, people like Manfred don't give a shit about Arlen, but like to Dunk,
he was great
Arlen
because
is
he was
everything.
good.
And so like, the power of humility, like that starts with Arlen. Arlen was just this humble guy, but he taught Dunk all of this important stuff that in the long run does mean a lot and does have a big impact. And so it shows the power of small, kind, simple acts.
And yeah, Arlen wasn't perfect, but he was good.
At least he was to Dunk.
Yeah.
I like how Dunk says, don't call me my lord, call me sir.
Yes, that there are rules to this, Egg. Little Egg, you don't understand yet, but these situations of social standing, it's pretty important that we play correctly by them. And he says, I'm only a hedge knight.
And this is the most self-assured that Dunk has looked all episode.
Yeah.
I'm a hedge knight. I'm only a hedge knight. And there's a quiet confidence in his humility.
He also says he's only a hedge knight.
Yeah.
I think like the subtext here is that like what more could you be? You're like being a good knight is what is like the aspiration for Dunk, and he can be that while just being only a hedge knight, right?
That's all you need to be. So then Dunk and Egg lie down to sleep, and they see a shooting star in the sky above. And a falling star brings luck to those who see it. And since all of those fancy knights are looking up at silk tents and silk pavilions, they miss out on the luck. So it's only the humble Dunk and Egg. I think it's really cute how Dunk like is initially like, shut up, Egg, I don't care about falling stars. But then like 5 seconds later, Dunk's like, oh.
So do you really mean it? Am I gonna have good luck?
Oh, that's cool though. And I like Egg's satisfaction.
Yeah.
In, like he gave Dunk something that means something to him, you know? So there's the beginning of a real relationship, and I think that's really nice.
Very cute.
And that's the end of our episode.
That's the end of the episode. What did you think, general thoughts, of the first episode of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, Alt Swift X?
I thought it was delightful. I was a bit uncertain when I heard about this project, because I was like, I didn't want it to feel like it was stretched out. I didn't want to feel like it was padded.
Right.
I didn't want them to like add a bunch of like weird side plots or add a bunch, we don't want White Walker prophecies. Like there's a lot of stuff they could have added that might have felt shoehorned in and unnecessary. But I think most of what they added was extremely fun.
Yeah, it's fun and thematically appropriate and true to the characters and true to the story.
And it's true to the world. Like, none of this is like canon breaking. None of this feels like it's twisting the books that we love. It's adding to the books that we love, but it's certainly not undermining them in any way. I think the pooping on screen and the hitting the child montage and the Ashford chair wooden stake up the bum, like all of that, it's a bit much. I think like the coarseness of it is going to turn some people off. Like I think that it's a bit of a risky choice. I think
agree.
most of it lands for me, but I think it's a bit
Like, I personally don't mind it all that much, but I'm fearful that it could turn sensible, reasonable people away from a show that they would otherwise probably get a lot out of.
They certainly have succeeded in like really clearly establishing a different tone. It's a different voice.
I'm so pleased to see how true what Ira Parker said, this entire show following Dunk's perspective is holding. Like, it's so important, and it's great to see that it's true. Like, that's what they're doing.
Yeah,
it's
I think
all Dunk all the time. It's the Dunk show.
And I think we really need to continue that feeling of being grounded in Dunk's values and grounded in his physical realities. And I really enjoy how that's distinct to Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, which is so often connected to these intricate, abstract ideas of prophecy and politics and like all this complex stuff. And I like how this is different to that.
So overall, we really like the tone. We think that the adaptation is true to the characters and the world and the narrative. We love our main characters. They're so fantastically depicted.
Yeah, I think Peter Claffey's performance is great. It is fun. It is better and funnier than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
This is only 40 minutes of TV, and I feel connected to this character.
Oh, I am rooting
really
for this
strongly.
guy no matter what happens.
Yeah.
I'm on his side no matter what's going on.
Yeah, I am on board for Dunk, and they achieved that really quickly. Yeah, I think they've done a great job. They might still fuck it up.
They might still fuck it up. I'm excited, though. I'm very excited to watch this show go
I'm
on.
extremely excited to watch more, yeah.
Yippee!
It is now time to enter the spoilers.
Oh, thank God I can take my spoiler chastity belt off.
So here it was a tight. At the end of this chat, we're going to have a brief chat, including spoilers. So from now on, spoilers for
Everyone,
A Night of the Seven
Shake
Kingdoms.
your spoilers out, everyone.
The sort of big spoiler is that Egg is not just some random orphan from King's Landing.
What?
Egg is in fact a Targaryen prince.
What?
Egg is Prince Aegon Targaryen, son of Prince Mycah Targaryen. Egg is the grandson of King Daeron Targaryen II.
That's crazy. I'm learning this now for the first time.
You know, we won't tell his whole life story, but he's a Targaryen prince. And so that gives him a very different perspective on the world, especially compared to Dunk. So like part of what's interesting here is that Dunk is this lower class person who's hanging out with a literal prince. The drunk guy in the inn earlier was Daeron Targaryen, nicknamed the Drunken. He's also a Targaryen prince. He's Egg's older brother. And they were at the inn because Daeron and Egg's father, Mycah, wanted Daeron to compete in the tournament, but Daeron didn't want to because he prefers getting drunk. Daeron took him to the inn and shaved Egg's head to hide the fact that he's a Targaryen prince. So Dunk is lying about being a knight.
And Egg is lying about being a little orphan boy.
And I think it's fun how that connects to Tanselle's poem. Great honor his ambition must keep a truth concealed. If his humble shape is bared, a foul and fiery demise, should the dragon discover, none but a man in great disguise. So Dunk and Egg are both in disguise. And Egg is in fact a dragon in disguise, in the sense that he's a Targaryen dragon in disguise.
And the danger that they're both in is other Targaryens, other dragons, discovering their disguises.
Yeah, I mean, Dunk could certainly be put to death if people found out that he was pretending to be a knight.
And if anything happened to the Targaryen prince currently in his custody. And if anything happened between him and any other Targaryens.
And one of the other fun spoilery things is that Dunk and Lionel have a long history ahead of them.
Yeah, when they meet there, that's a 28-year acquaintanceship in the making.
Dunk eventually becomes a Kingsguard knight serving King Egg. Dunk fights a trial by combat against Lionel Baratheon years and years from now. So we won't get to see Dunk and Lionel fight in this season, but it does happen historically in the future.
We'll see if they ever get around to that. And that trial by combat is what leads eventually to Rhael Targaryen marrying Ormond Baratheon, hence Robert Baratheon's Targaryen grandmother.
It's really cool how this little humble story leads to great and impactful things.
So that's all of that stuff we were talking around earlier.
Okay, so the way the rest of the spoiler zone is going to work is that we just like said spoilerific things elsewhere in the podcast and we like just move them to here. So it's going to feel a little bit random, but like it'll make sense, don't worry.
Yeah, because as we may see later in this story, other people of Lionel Station might not be so receptive to, their limbs being stepped on by Dunk.
Yes, as we may find out.
Like, that's actually quite clever. Oh my god, that's well done.
Oh, yeah. No,
Spoiler zone moment.
These guys are writers.
Oh, they actually thought about that. It's interesting how Egg reckons that he's from he considers King's Landing home and not Summerhall.
Yeah, well, I guess we don't know exactly where Egg has grown up.
There's a line in the books about how he served as a page in King's Landing for 2 years, but also Maekar lives in Summerhall, so I don't know. His dad, I should say.
I really like how, first of all, Dunk and Egg are such stupid names, and I love it.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
So goofy. They're
What
such a
commitment.
pair. What a pair of goofy names. And I also love how both of them are carrying a secret right now. Like, Dunk is hiding the fact that he's not a real knight. Egg is hiding the fact that he's a Targaryen prince. And I love that they have that in common. They're both lying.
Yeah.
And so they have so much in common, and yet they are so different. And that's what's so fun about Duncan.
And they learn so much from each other. By naming Duncan, Aegon is naming his future son.
Yeah.
As well in this moment. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I think that basically concludes our spoiler zone for now. I'm sure we can do a lot more spoilery analysis and speculation in future episodes.
We'll do it
of
later.
Dunk Time.
Do it later, mate.
If you want to,
We'll do it later.
If you want to know more about the whole full stories of their lives, there are some Alt Shift X videos about the Hedge Knight and the Sworn Sword
You
and
can
the
also
Mystery
just
Knight.
fucking
to go
read
over
the
this.
books.
Yeah, you can also read the books. They're pretty good.
They're really good.
They're pretty good.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
This was the first episode of Dunk Time. We're going to do an episode after each episode airs.
All 6 of them.
All 6 of them. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know what you reckon. Let us know what you think of the show.
We had a blast doing this for House of the Dragon, and we're going to have a blast doing it for this show as well.
Yeah. Welcome on board the Dunk train. It's Dunk o'clock. It's egg time.
Choo-choo. Flip your egg timers.
Yeah, sunny side up.
If someone started an egg timer at the start of this podcast, that egg is like just raw carbon by now.
Make sure you subscribe to Glide Us on YouTube.
Make sure you
and on
unsubscribe
Nebula.
from Alt Shift X.
And you can follow us on Twitter. No, probably don't.
You said that like poison sludge was coming out of your mouth.
But look, mostly just thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Flippity Flop.
They're calling it the longest outro of all time.
Yeah!
Why are you like this? I have to pee.
All right.
Don't say anything profound.
I'll try. The tip of the teeth, the tip of the tongue, the tip of the teeth, the tip of the tongue. Like